Why would someone destroy a fence in the dead of night, knowing it stood between a quiet neighborhood and a protected wildlife reserve? The morning sun barely crested the pines when I stepped onto my porch, coffee in hand, expecting the usual chorus of birdsong from the forest beyond my backyard. Instead, I heard a grating, metallic screech like a chainsaw gnawing through wire. My heart sank as I spotted her. Karen, my neighbor of 3 years, hacking at the chain-link fence that separated our properties from the Pine Hollow Wildlife Reserve. Her face, flushed with exertion, twisted into a scowl that could curdle milk. She was a hulking figure, her oversized frame dwarfing the bolt cutters in her meaty hands. Sweat beaded on her forehead, matting her stringy blonde hair as she worked with a ferocity that seemed personal, like the fence had insulted her lineage. "Karen," I shouted, spilling coffee as I stumbled down the steps. "What the hell are you doing?" She didn't even glance my way. "This eyesore's coming down," she growled, snapping another link with a grunt. "It's blocking my view of the woods, and I'm sick of it." "That's not just my fence," I said, my voice trembling with a mix of disbelief and rage. "It's a federal barrier for the reserve. You can't touch it." Karen snorted, her jowls quivering. "Federal, my ass. It's on your property line, and it's ugly. I'm doing the neighborhood a favor." She hacked again, and a section of the fence sagged, wires curling like wounded snakes. I fumbled ascendant. I fumbled for my phone, dialing the ranger station. Karen had always been a thorn in our cul-de-sacs, side yelling at kids for skateboarding, blasting her TV at 2 a.m., demanding everyone trim their hedges to her exact specifications. But this was a new low. The Pine Hollow Reserve was home to endangered species red wolves, rare orchids, a delicate ecosystem that took decades to stabilize. That fence wasn't just a boundary, it was a lifeline. As I waited for the ranger to pick up, Karen kept cutting, oblivious or uncaring about the consequences. "You're gonna regret this," I warned, my voice low. She laughed, a harsh, barking sound. "Regret? I'm taking control. You should thank me for improving your property value." The ranger, a gruff woman named Lila, arrived within 20 minutes, her truck kicking up dust as she skidded into my driveway. She was lean and weathered, with eyes that could pin a poacher at 50 yards. "Step away from the fence, ma'am," Lila ordered, her hand resting on the radio clipped to her belt. Karen wheeled around, bolt cutters dangling. "This is private property. You can't tell me what to do." Lila's expression didn't flicker. "That fence is federal property, maintained by the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. You're committing a felony." Karen's face purpled, her lips curling into a sneer. "A felony? For cutting a damn fence? You're out of your mind." She took a step toward Lila, brandishing the bolt cutters like a weapon. I held my breath, expecting Lila to back down. Instead, she unhooked her radio and called for backup. "We've got a 10-16 at Pine Hollow. Suspect is aggressive, tampering with a protected barrier." Karen's bravado faltered, but only for a second. "This is outrageous. I'm a taxpayer. I have rights." She turned to me, jabbing a finger in my direction. "You set this up, didn't you? You've always had it out for me." I shook my head, stunned. "Karen, you're the one with the bolt cutters. Nobody forced you to do this." Before she could retort, a new figure emerged from the woods, a lanky man in a flannel shirt, his face half hidden by a baseball cap. He carried a clipboard and a camera, and his boots crunched purposefully on the gravel. "What's going on here?" he asked, his voice calm but edged with authority. Lila nodded to him. "This is Dr. Ellis, wildlife biologist. He's been monitoring the red wolf pack in the reserve." Dr. Ellis's eyes narrowed as he surveyed the damaged fence. "Ma'am, do you have any idea what you've done? That barrier keeps poachers and predators out. Last night, we tracked a pregnant female wolf near this exact spot. If she gets through that gap you've made, she could be killed or worse, her pups could starve." Karen's jaw dropped, but she quickly recovered, folding her arms across her chest. "Wolves? You're making this up. There's nothing but trees back there. Dr. Ellis didn't blink. He pulled out his camera and showed her a time-stamped photo. A sleek red wolf, eyes glinting in the moonlight, standing just yards from where we stood. This was taken at 3 a.m. You've endangered a species on the brink of extinction. The air grew thick with tension. Karen's face, already blotchy, turned an alarming shade of crimson. You're all ganging up on me. This is a conspiracy. She threw the bolt cutters to the ground, where they landed with a heavy thud. Lila stepped forward, her voice like steel. Ma'am, you're under arrest for vandalism of federal property and endangering protected wildlife. She produced a pair of handcuffs, and Karen's eyes widened, her bravado crumbling like cheap plaster. You can't do this. Karen shrieked as Lila cuffed her wrists. I'll sue. I'll have your badge. But Lila was unmoved, guiding Karen toward the truck as 2 more rangers arrived. I watched, my heart pounding, as Karen's tirade echoed down the street. Neighbors peeked out from their windows, drawn by the commotion. For once, Karen wasn't the one calling the shots. As the rangers drove away, Dr. Ellis lingered, inspecting the fence. This'll cost thousands to repair, he muttered. And that's assuming no animals get through first. He glanced at me, his expression softening. Thanks for calling it in. Most people wouldn't bother. I nodded, still processing the morning's chaos. I just didn't expect it to escalate like this. He chuckled dryly. People like her don't think about consequences. They just act. He paused, then added, You know, I've seen her around before. Last month, she was dumping trash near the reserve's edge. Didn't think much of it then, but now. My stomach twisted. She's been doing this for a while. Seems like it, he said, scribbling a note on his clipboard. We'll look into it. If she's been tampering with the reserve before, this could be bigger than just a fence. The days that followed were a whirlwind. Karen's arrest made local news, her mugshot plastered across every outlet. The headline read like a tabloid, Local Woman Jailed for Destroying Wildlife Barrier. Social media exploded, with neighbors spilling years of grievances, her bullying, her noise complaints, her relentless demands. But what hit hardest was the wildlife report Dr. Ellis filed a week later. The pregnant wolf had indeed slipped through the damaged fence. She'd been spotted near a highway, disoriented and vulnerable. Volunteers were scrambling to track her, but the damage was done. I visited the ranger station to follow up, hoping for good news. Lila met me at the desk, her face grim. We're doing what we can, she said. But that wolf's chances aren't great. If she doesn't make it back to the reserve, her pups are as good as gone. Guilt gnawed at me, though I knew it wasn't my fault. What's going to happen to Karen? Lila sighed. She's facing federal charges, fines, maybe prison time. The judge isn't taking kindly to her attitude. She's been screaming about her rights in court, but the evidence is airtight. Your call saved us from a worse disaster. I nodded, but the victory felt hollow. Karen's actions had ripple effects, threatening creatures that had no voice to fight back. I thought about her sneering face, her absolute certainty that she was above the rules. She'd wanted control, a better view, a neighborhood bent to her will. Instead, she'd lost everything: her freedom, her reputation, her place in a community that had finally had enough. As I drove home, I passed the reserve, where workers were repairing the fence. The new links gleamed under the sun, a quiet promise of protection. I thought about the wolf, her pups, and the fragile balance Karen had so carelessly disrupted. She'd cut through more than metal that day, severed her own ties to the world around her, leaving nothing but consequences in her wake. Yindi,